on time. All right, my friends. So we are holding, I believe, actually Friday's class. I'm going too far. Hold on. Hang on. We got to go back to do Friday and Shabbos's class of Tanya. So we're going to go back to Friday, and we're learning something very interesting. And basically, I think fake news, the whole idea of fake news fits perfectly into today's Tanya. What we said, we're holding the third chapter of the unity and oneness of Hashem. In chapter 1 of Tanya, we explain that Hashem has to make the world every single moment. It's not that Hashem made the world once and it continues to exist, but the words of the 10 sayings that with that Hashem created the world, that is inside the world and continuously making the world every single moment, and that's what's bringing it into existence. Otherwise, the world would cease to exist. In chapter 2 of Tanya, we said that it's not like a regular person when he builds something, it's because Hashem is building it from something, from nothing to something. So everyone else that builds something is building something from something to something. So you're not really doing anything new. You're just taking something that had the properties and you're just changing the properties and you're changing it to what it already had the properties within it. So you're not really doing anything majorly new. But when Hashem makes the world, its essence is, its original state is that it doesn't exist. And that Hashem is bringing into existence, and therefore Hashem needs to make it every single moment, every single second. So basically everything that exists is simply, it's not real. It's only real because something's making it exist. And that's how real it is. It's very flimsy reality. So that's what he wants to say in today's Tanya, is that everything's really fake, I guess you could say, in a sense, because how real is it if you take away the energy for a second, it won't exist. And we're going to go along, it's not really fake, but we're going to explain that notion in the next few days of time. So after the first 2 chapters of truth, of realizing how unique creation is that the essence of everything is that it doesn't exist. And it's just Hashem bringing it into existence, which is why it's even here. Once we dealt with that truth of reality, whoever thinks about this will understand clearly. Now it makes sense why all of existence is really nothing. What is it worth? It's worth nothing. If your whole existence is that if Hashem stops making you for a millisecond, you will just disappear. How real are you? Especially relative, especially relative to the energy that's making you exist. That's making you exist. So that thing that's making you exist, that's real. But the thing that it's making exist, how real could it really be, especially relative to its source, which is making everything exist? So that thing that's making everything exist, Hashem, the energy of Hashem that's making everything exist, that's very real. But everything else is only being pushed into existence at every moment. How real is that, especially relative to its source? And this, that when we look around the world, everything seems to really exist. It's here and it exists and its own personality, its own identity, its own ego. It feels like it's a very real thing. The only reason is because we're wearing glasses on our face that we don't have 20/20 vision. We don't see what's really going on. So it's just because you don't see the energy that's making everything exist. Our eyes can only see 20/20 and not the dimension of the real existence of what's bringing everything to existence. But had Hashem made our vision that we would see things that are bringing everything into existence, or the hasik, the chayes v'ruchni, their spiritual life that's making existence of choliver and anything, we would see the world is not real. Then they say when the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, was passing away, the author of Tanya, he says that he's already like halfway in the other world. He sees how the energy of making, he was able to see at that point the energy making everything exist, and everything else in the physical world looked fake to him. I guess maybe that's what's going to happen to us when we pass away. We're going to see the higher dimension, and the whole existence of the world will be seen as nothing. All he sees is the energy that's coming out of Hashem's mouth, and the breath of Hashem that's brought everything into existence. If we could see that, we would not see what we see now. We would not see the physical world. The physical world is only being pushed into existence in appearance as if it exists, but you would see the real energy that's really making everything exist. And the whole physical world would, if you would be able to see that, you would not be able to see the physical world. Because it would be totally nullified relative to the spiritual energy that's bringing into existence. It's considered nothing. Why? Is because if not for the spiritual energy, it would be nothing. Just like before the 6 days of creation. So, how real is it if it only exists because something else is pushing it into existence? So if you would see that thing, the spiritual energy that's pushing it into existence, if you see what pushes it into existence, you would say, that's nothing. And the spirituality that comes out of Hashem's energy of his mouth, it's the only thing that's making it go from nothing to something. So then there's nothing else besides Hashem. So once we get into be able to see that vision, the deeper than 2020, the vision of Hashem, who's making everything exist at every single moment, once we would hit that, then guess what? Nothing else is important. Nothing else is relative anymore. It's just the thing. I guess like some guy might be trying to look like a wealthy person, but there's someone that's covering the bills the whole time. He's like a big macher. You go, it's not even you. It's not even, this guy's nothing. He's just a front for everything going on behind. But really, that is the other person don't talk to that guy. He doesn't mean, he's worthless. He's not part of the decision-making over here. He has no decision to be made at all. He really talk to the other person. If a person would see the energy of Hashem that's making the world every single moment, then they would say that everything else is not in existence. Now, I'll add to that. Tanya, the next part of Tanya is going to add and say another point. I think a very good analogy. In life, sometimes there are people that their personalities are very dominant. They push away, don't let anybody to exist when they're in the room. So you can have a person that when that dominant person's there, they're quiet. You won't hear a word out of them, that they don't exist. But when that person leaves, all of a sudden they're very creative and they have tremendous personality. Unfortunately, like in unhealthy relationships, it could be in that way that someone who is, Iris, you're raising your hand. Give me a minute. If I don't know if you meant to raise your hand or not, but the unhealthy, it could be, it doesn't have to be an unhealthy relationship, but the point is something so strong there, you don't see anything else in that situation. So that's the next point he wants to make. So point one we already made is that if you would see Hashem's energy making everything exist, nothing else exists. It's fake news. It's literally fake. Everything that we think is news is fake news because it's not real, because it's only being pushed into existence. And what kind of existence is that if something's being pushed into existence? The next point we want to make is the point of relativity, is that the energy of Hashem is so powerful, so strong, that the existence of the world is relative to the energy considered nothing. Not just because it's making it exist, which is the reason one, but reason number two is that it's so big, so beyond, right? Like the personality of someone is so beyond that the other person can't even talk. Hashem's energy is so beyond that nothing else exists. And that's why we can't see Hashem's energy, because if we would, nothing else would exist. So in order for Hashem to make us exist, he has to hide his tremendous energy so that we could exist. So let's see inside. And he brings the example from the sun. Chassidus likes to bring this example idea from the sun. The mashal is the example of relativity, of something existing, and then when it being too close to a greater source, it doesn't exist. Or Hashemesh, it's like the sunlight, Hamer la'artz v'ladarim, that shines in the world. So all of us can look outside. It's 90 degrees outside, right? What luminescent is the light? If you go to Home Depot, I go buy bulbs. What light do you want? Daylight, yellow light, whatever. What luminescent do you want? So look outside. It's boiling hot. It's beautiful. It's shining, and the light is very, very strong. If you look outside your window, especially Shukis in Israel, I don't know what the temperature is over there. Same sun is shining tremendous luminescent light and energy. If you look by Iris picture, you see. Look at this. Look at the sun and the sky. Look at the light, the sunlight that's there. Oh, good. So Shehu Ziva Or in Iris' backyard is the sign of light that comes out of the sun itself. And called, everybody sees it. It came out of the sun and it's shining. The shine of the sun is shining on the earth, on the actual unit, on the earth. Now, Vihina is a pashut. It's obvious to us. This sunlight, the sunlight that made its way all the way down to Marlboro, New Jersey, to Manalapan, New Jersey, to 41 Heather Drive, to my backyard, you know where it came from? It came from the sun. So does the sun have the same light energy, the luminescent the heat that it has here is that sun is that energy of the amount of luminescence, the amount of sunlight that's down here. Is it also in the sun itself? It's there too. If it came from there, it's got to be there too. Because if it came down to Manalip and to Marlborough, the sun made it all the way here, it's got to be where it came from. So for sure, it's shining there too. However, there's one major difference. When the sunlight makes its way all the way down here, it's recognizable. But this level of luminescence, if you were to shine that kind of flashlight in the sun itself, it would be zero, nothing. It's worthless. It doesn't even exist. In its original source, it's that level of luminescence. You're kidding? That's nothing. You're talking about the sun. It's literally like it doesn't exist. So open up a flashlight during the day. Does a flashlight exist? No, it doesn't make any light at all. Zero. It doesn't help you at all. That's a flashlight in your backyard. Now, the light in your backyard that came from the sun, that's all that came through your window into your house. That light in the original sun, it's zero. Relative, it's nothing. That's where it originates from. Because that light that's down here only originated from the sun. The only difference is that when that sunlight makes its way down into our world, into our world, it makes all the way down from heaven, thousands of miles away from the sun to our world. That the sun itself is not here. Therefore, the sunlight can exist as a huge, beautiful light right now. It's really enjoyable. You're really enjoying that sunlight. It's a real existence. You feel it. You know it. People are on the beach now in Deal, right? In the ocean in Deal, they're all on the beach enjoying that sunlight. It's a very pleasant, beautiful thing. However, that sunlight in the sun, you wouldn't call him sunlight at all. It wouldn't exist. Try to light a flashlight in your backyard now. It's zero. It's not worth anything. It's literally like nothing. So the same thing is with us and God. Relative to our creation of our world, relative to God, we're zero, nothing. We don't exist. It's too much of high energy. All you'll see in the sun itself is the source of sunlight, the sun. Exactly this idea. That's really what's all of creation. So besides the fact that we don't exist, because our whole existence is only based on something pushing us to exist every moment, besides that, even after we're created, the idea of relativity, relative to the energy of creation, we're really not here. We're nothing. You can't see us. Relative to the original energy that came out of Hashem's mouth to create existence, that's the source of everything and makes everything exist. Yes, it's all of existence is only a shine of the light that came out of the energy of Hashem that brings our world to existence. And because of this, we're totally nullified relative to the source of our creation. Just like the sunlight relative to the sun itself, which makes that light, it's nothing compared to the essence energy of the sun. You wouldn't call it anything, you wouldn't see it that it exists. It totally doesn't exist in its source. When the sunlight that's down here is in its original source. Only far away from the sun, when it comes all the way down, thousands of miles away, comes all the way down to our earth, then could it exist. So too is all of creation. When you're looking through the lens and you see the perspective of the original source of energy, the world is non-existent. Only in our vision, which we cannot see the energy of creation, does the world exist. We do not see the source at all. We do not see the energy of Hashem that's making everything exist. That's why us, who cannot see the source of energy making everything exist, therefore in our limited eyes, we look at the world as if it really exists. Just like the light of the sun looks like a real existence when it's not in its source. And there's only one problem. There's one difference between using the sun and sunlight between our analogy. It's not really fully compared, seemingly. Why not? In the example with the sun and the sunlight are really in two different locations. The sun is thousands or millions of miles away from our earth, and therefore it really is in two different locations. So the sun is thousands of miles away, and the light is thousands of miles away down here, and therefore they exist. But the problem is with creation, the existence of what makes creation exist is right here. It's like the sun is right here. All of creation exists within the thing, that energy that creates them. So then how come we don't see it? Hashem made a way that even though it's right here, the energy that's creating us every single moment, it's not thousands of miles away, it's right here. It's made in a method that we can't see it, even though it's right here. So it really is nullified. The sunlight is not really nullified because it's thousands of miles away. Only when it's in the sun itself is 1,000 miles away. But here, the thing that creates the world is where the world's being created. So it really doesn't exist. It's only that Hashem, as we're going to learn in the future days of Tanya, created a system that it could hide it, that we don't see it, even though it is here. Yeah, that's what we asked the question. So why are we not nullified if the sun, the energy that's making us come into existence, is right here? How do we exist? How do we not see it? So that's so to understand that, we first have to explain what's going to be explained in the next few days of Tanya. And we'll leave that at that. I got to run. I want to wish everybody an amazing day. Ira, you wanted to say something? I see your hand up. I don't know if you wanted to say something or not. But anyway, thank you.